What are some of the best games you guys remember renting from Blockbuster as a kid?
So I grew up in a very small town that did not have a Blockbuster. So we had little video stores, little privately owned video stores. So from, I think it was called Fox, because our school mascot was a fox. Fox Video. My mom, I used to ask her to rent. At this point, you could rent a console. So before we owned the Super Nintendo, she'd come home from work and she would rent me a Super Nintendo console and Street Fighter 2. And I would wait with bated breath for my mom to get home from work so I could plug that Super Nintendo in and just play Street Fighter 2 for 48 hours straight, basically over a weekend, before it had to go back on Monday morning when my mom took it back when she went back to work. So thank you, Mom, for doing that for me. It's a very fond memory that I have, being alone in my room playing Street Fighter 2 on a rented Super Nintendo.
Oh, that's such a good memory.
That's a great one.
That's really cool, Maulding. You're probably playing some Blanca, maybe, and just beating up cars.
It was a lot of Blanca.
Kick, like Chun-Li.
a little Dalsim, and because I didn't know how to pronounce it at the time, a lot of Ghoulie. But it's not pronounced Ghoulie, it's pronounced Guile. But I played a lot of Ghoulie.
A lot of Ghoulie. That's awesome. Well, I was just thinking about Blockbuster, and I'm like, okay, what game did I always see a ton of? And I'm like, what did I always just rent because I thought it was cool? And I think obviously I wasn't renting at the time. I would have to like show it to my parents and be like, can we get this? And my brother, it was a game called Balls. Ballz.
Oh, that's one of my favorite games to play.
It was in 1994.
You can play them on your face. You can play them on your hands.
I'm playing them right now.
It's so good. Okay, so it was an SNES fighting game. Do you remember this thing? It was just a bunch of. Everyone was made up of just balls. Everyone was like balls, and it was really hard. I remember it being super difficult.
They were hard balls?
Being so little. I had no idea. And
little balls.
Serious hard little balls. And my brother and his friends would just be beating up on my balls all day. And I'm telling you, that game is seared in my brain. I was watching a trailer of it, and I was like, and the music like came back into my head. I'm like, I don't know, like that's wild. That game always getting rented at our house for some reason. It was something about balls. Always comes back to balls.
Man.
Yeah.
I've never heard of the game, so I'll have to look it up.
Yeah, it's interesting. Watch the trailer.
I'm gonna go find some balls right after this.
Find the balls.
I'm gonna Google balls right now and see what comes up.
My first one was Hunter the Reckoning. I don't know if you guys know what this game is, but essentially it was an original Xbox title, and it had a spin-off that wasn't as good, but it was like a isometric third person where you could play 4 players, and I just remember being like a priest and a bunch of other stuff, but then there were zombies that would come at you, and it was like you had to go through level after level after level, but then you could level up, and my buddy and I used to grab a pizza, we would grab some soda, and we would sit on the original Xbox and play this thing for hours, and it was so difficult, but it was just so much fun. And then weekend after weekend, I don't know why we didn't buy it, we just kept renting this over and over and over, and so that game is definitely seared into my brain as one of the best couch co-ops that I ever played.
That's awesome.
I don't know, that's a good story. I don't know that one either.
That's one of those games that I've seen the cover a million times, but I've never played it.
It's a good game. It was decent back then, for sure.
Nice.
I don't know what happened to it. They should remake it.
Why not?
Maulding, what about you? What's your next one?
Yeah, so I mean, this is very similar to my other memory, but there was a point where you would reserve a game. So you would say, or at least this is how it worked out at Fox. You would call up and you'd be like, I would like to reserve a certain game. And then my mom would go in and she would pick it up for me. But at this point I had reserved some game and whatever it was didn't come in. So she just grabbed a game that the woman suggested for her. And that game was Earthbound. And let me tell you, when it came to me, I was like, my little peanut Matthew was like, what the F is this game? I don't know anything about this game. And then I played it and absolutely fell in love with it. It's such a wonderful game. If you haven't got a chance to try it, you really should. I think you can play it on the Nintendo Virtual Console. It's just a really fun role-playing game, kind of based in reality. You have aliens, and you have like a random town you're in, and you ride a bike. Like, you're this little kid Ness. Super fun, huge surprise. I was very happy my mom picked it up. So yeah, that's my.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
you were able to like get on the ground floor with Earthbound. Like, I don't think a lot of people can say that.
Yeah, well, that's great.
That's pretty good. That's really cool, Maulding. So for my second one, another game that I remember renting a whole bunch of, never was very good at it, but was Syphon Filter, 1999 title for the PS1. Always was seeing it there in the little like crystal jewel case at Blockbuster, and you're like, all right, I'm gonna get this one. And I just loved it that it had like, it was kind of looked like espionage type cover art, and it was awesome. It was a fun little third person shooter, and I definitely feel like renting that game and like like I said, probably was never very good at it, but it was like sort of the segue into my love for like third person shooter games and first person shooter games down the line for sure.
Nice.
It's a classic.
Oh, it's a total classic. The PSP game is also awesome. That one I played a ton of. I was obsessed.
Nice. My last one was one that I should have seen coming, but in the Nintendo 64 days, I was kind of like, I'm too cool for video games. I'm not going to buy this Mario. I liked Mario 64, but because that was, obviously cool. But what is this Mario Party? It doesn't look like, anything serious. So why would I buy a Mario Party? So I ended up renting Mario Party just because I had nothing else to do. And I started to play it, and I was like, oh, this is a pretty good game, but sure would be fun with more friends. And I invited over like 3 of my friends. And again, same situation. The next thing I know, we're sitting there with our pizza, we got our soda, and we are like going to town. It got so heated and so like brutal. I was like, this is the greatest Mario Party ever. And I pretty much bought every single one of them since then, and I can't wait for the stupid Jamboree titled one that's coming out next month.
I'm glad you're buying it so we can all play it together, and I don't have to spend money to play it.
Yes,
definitely.
me too.
No, the two of you have to come over so that we can recreate the magic. I'm talking pizza, I'm talking beer if you want it, I'm talking
I have barbecue potato
Pepsi
chips and Diet Pepsi.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll see who the real man is on this podcast. And I take that shit seriously.
I'm ready to see the magic, that's for sure.
I'm ready too.
Thanks for giving us a watch. If you're interested in checking out Maulding's Visions of Mana review, click here to see what he had to say about the latest in the Mana series.